I'm Tico, and I'm a grade 12 student. So, nandito po tayo ngayon sa kulungan, ah, kulungan ng ibon, ng kulungan ng ibon ko. So, the content of my vlog is what is pigeon racing. So, this is a kind of a pigeon racing. So, dito po tayo ngayon sa aking kulungan. So, ito po yung mga alaga, mga pigeon racing pinang lalaro. So, dito po sila pumapasok. At ito naman po yung inumin nila. Dito sila umiinom. So, sa pigeon racing kasi hindi lang ito pangbata at hindi lang to basta inaalagaan lang or ginagamit sa pangkasal. Pwede rin po itong ikarera. So, sa karera, kailangan kung ikakarera mo yung ibon mo, kailangan ng pigeon ring or singsing. Kasi tulad nito, singsing. Kasi maraming kalapati ang nagkakaparehas ng muka, pero sa singsing lang nagkakaiba. Kaya kasi kailangan rin ng pigeon ring kasi diyan ginagamit yung sa pag-registered sa computer para ma-register yung ibon mo kung isasali mo sa karera. So, kailangan ng singsing. So, meron po akong ipapakitang video kung ano ba talaga ang pigeon or racing pigeon industry. So, ito po.
There's a thing called pigeon racing, and it's possibly $1 billion industry. Recently, one bird was sold for a record $1.4 million. It often involves pigeons flying thousands of kilometers. This is how it works. On race day, pigeon fanciers, that's what people who race pigeons are called, release their birds who are hundreds if not thousands of kilometers away from their respective bird lofts. Depending on the race, around 20,000 pigeons can be released at the same time. The shortest can be 100-kilometer sprints. Long distance races can go up to 1,200 kilometers. The speed of the bird is calculated and the fastest bird wins the race. And it takes a pigeon 12 to 14 hours non-stop to travel around 1,000 kilometers. On hot days, they can take longer, as it's believed that they sometimes stop for a quick water break. But that's just a guess, because it's not possible to track the birds with a GPS. Most trackers are still too heavy, so until technology advances, the pigeons have a ring on their foot which enables the racers to calculate their speed. This is actually how the winners of the race are determined. Minutes after a pigeon arrives at its loft, the owner finds out the speed and the ranking of the bird online. Distance and wind can sometimes be a factor that determines who the winners are. So there's another type of racing. It's called one-loft racing. In this case, when a pigeon is born, it's sent to a collective loft. All the pigeons at these lofts belong to respective owners who train the birds at the collective loft. In the race, all the pigeons race back to their collective loft from a set point, competing under the same weather conditions and flying the same distance. This sport is not new. In many parts of the world, the sport was practiced in some form or the other, dating back thousands of years. But the modern form of the sport has its roots in Belgium, where the first long-distance races were held in the 19th century. But now, the biggest market is in China. Belgian pigeon Armando, also known as the Lewis Hamilton of pigeons, was sold for a record $1.4 million to a Chinese bidder. He was sold for 3 times more than the previous record. and now the new owner hopes that he'll pass on his super genes to his progeny.
In China, you don't have casinos, but what is a good alternative for people who come to China to gamble and they like to gamble a lot is pigeon sport. If you want to win a lot of money with the pigeons, the Chinese are thinking we need to buy the best pigeons, genetics.
Armando will be used for his mating in hopes that he'll pass his talent to his children and earn millions of dollars for his new owner. In the same auction, 7 of Armando's children were sold for $170,000 in total. A regular female pigeon can give 12 to 15 children a year. If well organised, Armando is expected to breed 100 children in a year. The Pioneer International Club in Beijing hosts a series of races where pigeons fly up to 500 kilometers for prize pots of over $60 million. And gambling prizes associated with these competitions spin off millions of dollars or more. The Belgium-based Pipa Pigeon Paradise, which is the eBay of the pigeon buying world, had a turnover of $28 million last year from online and offline pigeon sales. Pigeon racing is not just about the money and the gambling.
For me, to see the pigeon arrive, like after a race, 10 hours flying against the wind, it's really interesting. And then, yeah, the feeling when they come home, that's the most wonderful thing about the pigeon sport for me.
The first thing you need to know about pigeon racing sport is that pigeons are naturally born with the desire to fly. When they're young, they'll fly between 60 to 100 miles a day voluntarily for their own recreation. It's normal for birds to fly long distances. About 40% of the birds in the world, at least 4,000 species, are regular migratory birds. Some of these birds can fly at 37,000 feet, that's 7 miles in the air, which means they can run into an airplane flying at high altitude. The Arctic tern can fly more than 50,000 miles in a year. Makes a round trip from the Arctic to Antarctic, where they spend their winters. In a lifetime, an Arctic tern can fly over 500,000 miles, about 1 million kilometers. So it's normal for birds to fly long distances. A lot of birds do it, and the pigeon racing sport has bred an animal and cultivated an animal specifically for flying between 150 to 300 miles commonly, with the intention of fast speed. Some birds, depending on their bloodline, can go between 700 to 1,000 miles or even more. However, most sports throughout the world, pigeon racing, are going to require a course starting at 150 miles up to about 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers. So pigeons are born to fly, birds are born to fly, that's what they're meant to do, and there's absolutely nothing abusive about the pigeon racing sport. That's what the bird does naturally. Of course, in order for the bird to do it, it has to have optimal conditions, and the person handling the birds has to know how to provide the right nutrition so the bird can be well prepared for these long trips.
So that was the definition of what is racing pigeon. So I hope you understand the shown video before. So so if thank you for watching and subscribing my videos. So that's all. Thank you.